What's up? What's up, Internet? This is John from Yen, and coming to you from sunny San Francisco. No, I mean smoky San Francisco, because there's some crazy amount of fires happening over here. But that's okay. I'm indoors, and we've got a bunch of air filters and things running, so lots of these masks, but we've got some nicer masks coming anyway. We're doing okay, although it is really sad about all the people who've lost their home, so prayers go out to those folks. Anyway, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to spend a little bit more time helping answer more of your questions. I get a lot of questions every week about things, and I think I could do a better job of actually answering those questions via video, so that's what I'm going to try to do. So this question comes from Twitter. What's it like raising venture capital, and how does it change the way that you run a company as opposed to bootstrapping? That's a really great question, because I've done both. The difference between, or rather, let's see, where should I start? So day to day, when you build a project, it really doesn't actually feel much different. So if you end up raising venture capital, and I've done that for a number of projects, or you decide not to, and you bootstrap, and you don't raise any outside money, you don't get any financial partners, day to day, it doesn't really change the way that I function, or necessarily a lot of my kind of like typical behaviors during the day. Running a company, whether it's bootstrapped or whether it's whether you have financial partners through venture capital, at least for me, it doesn't really change a lot of my daily behavior. I get up every day, single day, and continue to build product and hopefully head in the right direction. But there are definitely, I would say, a few additional administrative tasks necessary for venture capitalists. If you build a project and you end up raising a little bit of money, definitely you add a little bit more administrative requirements. What I mean by that is every month, for instance, we create this large scale kind of update to our venture capital partners to give you an idea of where the company is, what has happened in the last month, the momentum and the velocity we've built, our burn, how much money we're spending to keep things going, revenue, et cetera, et cetera. So there's definitely a little bit more administrative tasks that you add onto your back if you decide to raise venture capital. And currently Yen is a venture-backed company, and so we deploy updates every month to our VCs. But then, of course, you have an additional amount of relationships, right? As opposed to bootstrapping a company or a project where pretty much all your stakeholders are on your team. Now, on a venture-backed company, you have your team, you have your co-founders and your team, their staff, and then you have this additional layer of angel investors and institutions or organizations where their job is to deploy capital. And so you have this larger community, if you will, of stakeholders who you hope are happy, and that can provide or create a little bit additional amount of pressure for you, and that's something for you to think about. Like, I would say though, at least super early stage, like pre-seed and seed, and maybe even Series A, like generally speaking, you don't really feel that much additional pressure. In fact, I almost feel none, because I feel more pressure actually from my co-founders and my team, right? To make sure that we have good work to be working on, and that our revenue's fine, and that our burn is good, and that we all have jobs for the foreseeable future. That's where I feel most of my pressure, regardless of whether it's bootstrapped or venture backed. But because you have to understand where a VC, right, a venture capitalist, part of their business model has failure baked right in. It's actually built right into their calculus. in their equation for how they want to run their organization and their venture firm. And so failure is a huge component, a huge expected kind of piece of the math, if you will. And so for them, every investment's obviously super important. They want every investment to do really well. But the vast majority of their investments, especially early stage, are going to be absolute dog shit failures. And so that's built into their business model and the way that they psychologically think. So that's just kind of just part and parcel with the way that they've decided to run their lives. So I don't really feel that much pressure because I know that calculus is baked in. I understand that's the vast majority of new projects will ultimately fail. And so I tried not to spend any of my emotional bandwidth on those types of things. So all that to say is, day to day, I don't really operate differently, whether it's venture-backed or bootstrapped. But definitely on the venture-backed side, there's a lot more administrative tasks that every week, every month that I have to manage. There's additional relationships that I have to manage, and as all of you know, relationships are tough. I'm not an exceptional relationship manager. I don't even like the idea of managing relationships. That's just, I'd rather just have relationships. But so I hopefully that answers that question. But something somewhat of a corollary that you didn't ask, which but is maybe kind of related, is whether one is better than the other. And that's whether, building a company that's venture-backed is better than a bootstrap company. And the answer is there's no clear winner, right? I've built a number of bootstrap companies, and they have been an incredible amount of fun, and we've had a lot of success. And then I've done some venture-backed companies where we ultimately ended up selling those to some very much larger companies, and those were fun as well. I mean, I think at this stage in my life, they're both just as good. It really depends on the life that I want to have, the partners, the staff that I have, the demands that we have as a team, and a lot of that creates kind of those inputs, if you will, into the equation. And so I'll give you one example. So I built this company in Atlanta, and started out as bootstrapped, and was pretty sure that it was going to be much more of kind of a lifestyle business. 3 friends of mine came together over a long period of time, and then we hired some staff. It just so happens a little bit much later, like 2 or 3 years in, we ended up raising a little bit of capital, and that was not even part of the original plan, but it made sense for where we were headed and kind of the next milestones that we wanted to achieve as a company. And so and that was a much more natural progression, if you will, and no one pressured us into it, which was great. And I think that's really, really key, is there's already a lot of pressure for you to succeed and to do a good job, for your company and your project not to suck in the tank. So you want to be very careful about adding additional layers of pressure, especially when it's unnecessary. So anyway, great question. Thank you for asking, and hopefully that's helpful. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.